The summer Canada burned, the wildfire season that shocked the world. A calm prevailed before the firestorm. Canada awaited the start of the wildfire season. It was the end of April. The annual Battle of the Blazes was not expected to begin in earnest for weeks, maybe even 2 months in a good year. But it would soon become clear that the 2023 season would be anything but good. On April 30th, the first wildfire of note popped up. About an hour's drive west of the capital city of Edmonton, near the hamlet of Entwistle, a fire devoured tinderbox dry trees and grass. A few minutes away, a second wildfire of note burned simultaneously. This one cropped up closer to the hamlet of Evansburg, humorously known for electing a town grouch in past years. There was nothing funny, however, about what was about to occur. Something had sparked Alberta's first two notable fires of the year, igniting a wildfire season across Canada unlike any other. The blazes became a fiery harbinger, foreshadowing a season eventually described as vicious, hellish, and apocalyptic. One word, however, emerged from the lexicon of forestry experts as the defining characteristic of the 2023 Canadian wildfire season. That word was unprecedented. Simply put, the nation experienced catastrophic fire activity, said Jan Boulanger, a research scientist at the Canadian Forest Service. This fire season has been marked by extreme fire weather conditions, driven by record high temperatures and widespread drought conditions across the nation, Boulanger said. It was the most devastating fire season in recent memory, by far. By the end of September, the amount of Canadian forest lost to destructive flames sat at 18 million hectares. That represents an area bigger than 140 of the world's countries. It's also about 6 times greater than the average amount of land lost to fire in an entire season in Canada. Frighteningly, the season was still a few weeks away from being over, with more than 480 fires still burning out of control when that tally was made. This is a scary time for a lot of people from coast to coast to coast, said Canada's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, alluding to the vastness of the nation on fire, stretching from the Pacific to the Atlantic Oceans and upward into Canada's north. Tens of thousands of Canadians had faced evacuation orders and had been chased from their homes by flames, some with only their kids, their pets, and the clothes on their backs. They anxiously awaited news in a haze-filled limbo, hoping for permission to return home and dreading the outcome that hundreds faced. They no longer had a home to go to. Wildfire warnings arrived from a myriad of forestry and government agencies as a hot, dry spring gave way to an even hotter, drier summer. Dozens of communities sat on the verge of fire disaster, with unrelenting heat baking the boreal forest. This weather event has the potential to be the most challenging 24 to 48 hours of the summer from the entire fire perspective, Cliff Chapman, Director of Wildlife Operations with the BC Wildfire Service, said at one point. If there was ever a time to make sure you have an evacuation plan for you and your family, it's now. If ever there was a time to make sure you have a grab-and-go bag, it is now. His words fit the narrative of the wildfire season. Never before had Canada seen this many wildfires that were this large, this intense, and this fast. The superlatives stacked up as flames gutted forests across almost all of Canada's 10 provinces and 3 territories. Some provinces recorded the largest wildfires they'd ever experienced. Others recorded more fires than ever before. Still others saw fires travel at unparalleled speeds. Just how unprecedented was Canada's 2023 fire season? Well, the wildfire destruction was off the charts, literally. Officials whose job it is to track wildfires needed to create new charts to show the dramatic increase in land lost to fire in 2023. With more than a quarter of the season left, 6,230 wildfires had roared across the country by September 10th. In 2022, there were only 4,800 such fires in the entire year. The intensity of the fires shocked many Canadians too. British Columbia experienced a rare firenado, a whirling vortex of flames that sucked in debris. Evacuees across the country reported that the heat of wildfires had peeled paint off their vehicles as they dashed for safety. Fires burned so deep in parts of the forest that they left roots exposed, leaving trees with an otherworldly appearance of being suspended in air. And no structure in the path of a wicked wildfire was safe, including the fire hall that became engulfed in flames in the town of Scotch Creek, BC, or the homes of 13 firefighters who battled to save their tiny community of Wilson's Landing, BC, while their own houses were gutted. What is demarcated this season is that we had significant fire activity in different places simultaneously, and that has really made for some challenging conditions, said Jennifer Kamau, Communications Manager for the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre. Each wildfire season, that centre monitors the country's fire activity, the availability of firefighting resources, and the demand for those resources. The organization then gives the country a rating of 1 to 5, 5 being the most critical scenario, on a national preparedness scale. In spring 2023, it moved Canada to a 5 very early in the season. The country remained on that highest level of alert all summer. While hitting a level 5 isn't rare, the duration for which Canada sat at this level is, said Kamau. A level 5, she explained, means there's significant fire activity in one or more jurisdictions, that firefighters and equipment in Canada have all been put to use, and that we've requested international help. Canada indeed needed help. Fires sparked in most provinces and territories, but it was Nova Scotia that grabbed the most headlines as May drew to a close. 2 intense fires ripped through the province of Lighthouses and Lobster. All hell is breaking loose, Halifax Fire District Chief Rob Hebb said at the time. The Barrington Lake Fire in the southern portion of Nova Scotia grew to become the largest wildfire the province had ever seen, twice as big as anything ever experienced there. A second major fire invaded the province's most populated area, the Halifax Regional Municipality, leading approximately 18,000 people to evacuate their homes. In the end, more than 300 homes and structures were lost to flames between the 2 fires. June brought more fires in Ontario, and particularly in Quebec. In an average year, La Belle Province would see only 247 hectares consumed by flames by June 5th, but this year, that number had exploded to a shocking 158,000 hectares, more than 600 times greater than usual. All that fire began emitting a health hazardous haze. Wildfire smoke, which had choked much of Canada for the past month, began curling its acrid fingers around American states and even reaching out across the Atlantic Ocean to dim skies over Portugal, Spain, France, and the United Kingdom. Fires and evacuation orders marred summer plans across the country. In August, a fire in the Northwest Territories danced dangerously close to the capital city of Yellowknife. Another evacuation order came down, this one on a mega scale, leaving the community akin to a great ghost town. Hospitals, homeless shelters, seniors' residences, animal shelters, and jails emptied as part of a massive evacuation plan for 22,000 people. Most Yellowknife residents, however, drove to safety on the 2-lane highway that eventually heads south out of town. The drive proved harrowing. Flames roared through hapless trees lining both sides of Highway 3. Fiery embers streaked through the sky, landing on cars, trucks, and campers that snaked along the road in lines of traffic that stretched for miles. Heavy black smoke turned day to night, obscuring vision, creating chaos, and causing evacuees to wonder if they would survive the fiery journey. Numerous other Northwest Territory communities evacuated residents too, leaving many people to share stories of terror. Yvette Bruneau recalled how she grabbed 2 packed bags and her 2-year-old dog, Speckles, as she left Hay River on August 13th. The fire, however, was at its peak as she got on the road. I remember driving through there, and I drove through flames, said Bruneau. A thick haze obscured almost all visibility. It caused Bruneau to drive into a ditch. I phoned my son, and I said, "Well, if I don't make it out, I love you." He said, "Mom, I love you too." She then told him, "Do not come after me. You will not make it." After that call, Brunel climbed up a nearby hill with her dog and waved her arms frantically while yelling, "Please, help me! Please save me!" A passerby stopped to rescue her, as well as another driver whose vehicle had also hit the ditch. "I'm blessed that I'm alive," she said. British Columbia also saw wildfires take a wicked turn in August. The province had already broken its record for most area burned during a wildfire season by the middle of July. A new ferocity in the flames left people gasping. With heat blasts and high winds whipping up embers, up to 500 active fires blazed across the province on some days. Most foreboding, perhaps, was the Donnie Creek Fire. It became the largest fire to ever strike BC, the culmination of 8 smaller blazes joining together in an incendiary demonstration of their power. By mid-August, the Donnie Creek Fire had devoured an area of land bigger than the entire province of Prince Edward Island. A different fire, however, instilled the greatest fear. The McDougall Creek wildfire terrorized thousands in West Kelowna, ultimately razing about 189 homes and causing the evacuation of thousands. Firefighters said they'd never seen anything quite like those fast-moving flames. It was a devastating night last night, probably one of the toughest of my career. The toughest of all our firefighters' careers, likely, West Kelowna Fire Chief Jason Brolin said after the first hours of fighting the blaze. It was one of the most challenging nights of firefighting in our history. We fought 100 years' worth of fires all in one night. An excerpt from The Summer Canada Burned by Postmedia.